Restream has got stuff through.
Cool.
Twitch has got stuff coming through. Yeah, Twitch has got stuff coming through. Yeah, we are. Everything's going through to all the various video delivery services that we are connected to.
Fantastic.
All 2 of them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, started, haven't we? I really went like, oh, that's good. All right then.
Cool. Then we just all stop. Then they pause. So, are we going to say anything?
Yeah, you guys gonna do it. Just keep poking them with a stick. Eventually, they'll do something.
No, it's like one of those things. Like you're all freeze because you're like, who's going to be the first person to move? Who's going to be the one that starts the trouble? It's going to be you, innit, Ram?
You know me. You know me. And on that note, good evening, everybody. We're on the Suffolk Ram.
Skazz.
Welcome to episode 212. Yes, it is 212 of the Rat Nerds podcast. Hope we're all well and happy and hearty and bouncing around like a newborn lamb.
Is that the season?
I bounce around like a newborn lamb that's got a broken leg.
Is that... Wait, that's not... No. Do they still bounce? No, they don't bounce around with a broken leg. I was going to say, do they still bounce around if they've got broken legs? They try.
They've got 3 legs. They've still got 3 legs, haven't they?
Yeah, but that... no, I just have... No, that was really bad. My brain just went, look, they just jumps. Oh, look, he just fell over.
Well, funny you say it today. We had to move a ram today. And where the little... So basically, the ram is currently with all his girls. But the girls are due to start having lambs soon. And it's not going to have a ram round with the lambs because the ram may kill the lambs.
Yes.
So we decided to move the ram out. And where they are, you can get a trailer to it, but it's a bit of a faff. It takes quite a while to reverse it because it's quite tight. And it's round a corner, you know, virtually 90-degree reverse, quite tight. So it takes about... Even the boss, who's very skilled at reversing a trailer, it takes about 6 attempts to get in there. And I had the trailer on my car today, so I had to do about 30 attempts, if that. Probably twice as many of that. So I said, well, I've got this thing called a halter. Basically, it's a little... It looks a bit like it's like a bridle. You know, like a bridle sort of halter you have on horses. But you can use it on other animals. I said, why don't we just grab the ram, put that around his head, and then we'll just take him across to where we want to put him by. It's only literally, that's the thing. It was literally he's going to be moved about 10 meters. So, but it was open, so it had to either go in a trailer. So I said, let's just put the halter on. Let's just take him over there. So we catch him, put the halter on him, start walking him across. We get as far as his new pen. The ram decides, no, I'm fed up with this. He has a hissy fit and he flings himself on the ground, just lays on the side of the ground looking dead. Just lays there, and he's got his eye open. He's just staring at you like, fuck off. Is basically what he was staring, saying, go away. I'm not happy with this.
He's protesting like a child.
Well, as he's doing this, at that moment, he's thrown himself on the ground, just laying there. The boss's daughter, who technically these are her sheep, she's about 11, 12. These are her sheep, technically. She comes out, sees this ram just lying on the ground, and goes, what have you done to my sheep? Is he dead? It's like, no, he's having a hissy fit. So we eventually, with a bit of coercion, he's doing a fantastic job pretending to be dead. Bit of coercion, managed to get him to stand up again. And he didn't went to go onto his pen, took off his halter. Then he was sort of happy, but he wasn't happy. He was no longer with his girls. As you wouldn't be. So yeah, so yeah, I had a defiant ram hit today, and it wasn't me. I wasn't a defiant ram.
I was going to say, yeah, but that's not the same as having a broken leg. That's just having a paddy.
Well, no. Luckily, I've only known. Which one? I've only known one case where I know a lamb's broke its leg, and that was thanks to some ironically, some animal care students who were putting the lamb back into its pen, and because the pens have got bars, and they put the ram in and weren't paying attention, and the ram's leg went between 2 of the bars.
Oh,
yeah. Luckily, being the fact that it's a baby animal, they heal quick.
Bless it though.
I know. So they had to. Luckily, being as animal care students, they knew how to splint it. So they splinted it all up and.
Right person to fuck up, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. It's like falling. It's the equivalent of a doctor tripping you up in a hospital.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, you're right place to do it.
Yeah. Oh shit! Sorry about that, but I'll go. Let me fix your ankle.
I was about to say near enough the exact same thing. It's just like going ass over tit outside of the James Paget. Although,
Yeah, yeah. Oh, the boar had me today.
Oh, did he? Did you have fun?
Yeah. Not in that way, unfortunately. He didn't. No, it wasn't that. No, not doing daylight hours anyway.
I guess that's a tad sore, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm sitting down. I'm sitting on a cushion at the moment.
Just saying, no wonder you're in high spirits. A bit pink in the face.
Well, you got the pork kebab got in there and sorted it out. So no, I had the trailer on, drove into the field where all the sows was, moving one of the sows out the top field, and he come over, and he's a lovely little boy. Well, I say little, he's huge. But he's very friendly, and he loves to go. And he come around, and he started to scratch himself on the trailer. So he sits there, and he's rubbing himself on the trailer, going against the trailer with his back, rubbing up and down. And I walk up to him and say, "Come on, I need to open the trailer up. You're in the way." I start to walk between, sort of like try and push him away from the trailer, and then he starts rubbing himself up against me, going, "They're like, you know how a dog comes and sort of will rub itself against you, or cat will come rub itself against you, like that, but it's a giant boar." And he's doing against me. It's like, come on, get out of the way. So I start to walk around the side, the front, the back of the trailer, and there's a gap from where because the wheels on the trailer are in the middle. So the end of the trailer is like a gap underneath it. And at this point, he starts to like really sort of lean back and sort of body slam back in to like re-scratch. And in doing so, he pushes both my legs under the trailer, and me with it, obviously, because my legs didn't detach. And so I got a half push underneath the trailer and thrown to the ground. And then
detachable legs, mate. Sometimes there are bonuses to being disabled.
Well, yeah, exactly. and then bless him. After he'd done that, and I went, "Oh, dude!" He turned round, and he looked at me, and he came and was like, "Hey, you all right?
What are you doing down there, mate?
What are you doing down there? That's a silly place to be. You'll get trotted on down there." Yeah, I mean, he all snouts like, "You're all right." So I got up, and again, luckily, because he's a stocky beast, I just literally put my arm on his and just use him as a stand, basically, lift myself back up.
Probably thinking to himself, "Yeah, mate, I helped."
Yeah, I helped. Oh, I'm helpful. But yeah, so thanks to him, I've pulled my whole left-hand side of my back, and also that ankle was really hurting. So it's not hurting so much now. It's still the right colour. It hasn't changed colour, so that's a good sign.
We don't have to take you to the practice and whatever students to get you patched up, then, eh?
Yeah. The animal care students that have to look after me now. So
mate, Ram's broken. Fix him.
Yeah.
What happened? He got bored.
It's like, well done, dude. Good boy. So it's like, I decided to go to the boss, and the thing is, it wasn't his fault. That was me not paying attention to what I was doing, and he was just having a scratch on the trailer, and I just got between him and the trailer, and I put myself. So it wasn't his fault. It was my fault for being a bit impatient, not waiting for him to finish scratching his back.
Walking on a farm's dangerous. Remember?
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is, and I've always said with animals, you've got to be. You can never trust animals. They won't necessarily mean to hurt you, but they can hurt you.
Oh yeah.
And you have to be paying attention. And that was a perfect example of letting your attention slip and getting injured for it.
Ever vigilant, son.
Ever vigilant, and it's how every year people get killed by animals on farms. Unfortunately. And 9 times out of 10, the animal's just doing what it does anyway. It's not got aggressive. It's not.
Because let's be fair, you're just a wee meat sack.
Yeah,
compared to a big ass heavy boar, you're nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Well, as I say to people, when people come like work experience people and stuff, I said they, particularly pigs, cows, they don't understand that you're not like them.
Oh yeah, of course not.
So when a cow sort of like swings its head at you, it's not thinking I'm bigger and heavier, I can really hurt you. It's thinking, no, that's what I do to another cow.
Yeah.
And the other cow is not bothered by it.
I'm just going to nudge it out of the way.
Yeah, but unfortunately, nudging him out of the way sends them flying.
Yeah.
So you have to. That's why you always, when you go in, you can respect them, but you should never ever fully trust them.
Yeah, same as the sea. You are insignificant to the sea.
Yeah.
Same with heavy machinery. Never get complacent. Never get comfortable around heavy fucking machinery. Because the day you get comfortable, it's the day you do something stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. Particularly for everything that spins.
Yeah.
Have you seen the video? The guy in the lathe. It's not pleasant. It's a big industrial lathe, and the guy is it's running. So it's big industrial bit of kit. So it's probably about 2 or 3 meters long. Huge bit of kit. Obviously spinning round, and the guy leans over it, and it catches he's wearing some loose clothing. It catches his loose clothing. He gets caught, flung round. He then stops as he's jammed into it. Right, and then about 3 or 4 seconds later, the power of the motor takes over, and it's got enough torque, and it just carries on.
Oh yeah, sure.
And he just gets, well, there's photos of it afterwards, and there's basically nothing left. He's just caught and he's spun to pieces.
Yeah, for sure.
Literally.
I mean,
literally, it's gruesome.
There were grooves. One of our, so this is like nothing anywhere near as brutal, but one of our design technology teachers back in middle school, he was hardcore on safety, and he said he just remembers this one time. There was a young girl working on, I can't remember what it was, another spinning device, and she didn't have her hair up.
Oof.
Or she had it like a ponytail, and it kind of flipped into the thing, and as it spun, her head went down, it ripped all of her hair out, and she ended up with her face wasn't particularly, she got hurt. And it was bloody, and there was screaming, and it's like, you just, 1 second is all it takes.
Not even that.
And
not
you're
even
done.
That. 1/10 of a second. It's not even that. It goes, when it goes wrong so quickly.
Yeah.
You don't know about it. You probably don't, I doubt they even register what's happened. I don't even register what's happened until well after it's happened.
Oh god, yeah, of course. And at the end of the day as well, like they say, oh yeah, we've got these big red, in the case of machinery, we've got the big red panic buttons, the stop buttons. But fuck, man, that takes time to process. And if someone else sees blood or something, that's going to take even longer for them to process to hit that damn button.
Yeah.
It's oh man, we don't it doesn't take a lot to break us.
No.
And we say health and safety gone mad. In some cases, maybe, but there are reasons why we got to where we are.
My opinion of health and safety, I don't think health and safety in general is mad at all, but I think health and safety is a fantastic scapegoat. If you don't want people doing things, you can tell them it's for health and safety reasons.
Yeah.
If it isn't, you can tell them it's for health and safety reasons, and that's why you don't want people doing them. Because people don't tend to argue. They'll go, health and safety. Right?
Oh, mate, do you know how many people I know that work on moving machinery or shit when it's plugged in?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Sometimes you have to.
Well, yes, true. All safety regulations are written in blood.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah, like the only reason we have these things in place is because something has gone wrong beforehand.
Yeah.
That we didn't think of before. And
also, people are fucking stupid.
Agreed.
I mean, I read I always get this wrong. Is the International Atomic Energy Authority, the IAEA. You can go on their website. They've got they have reports on like any sort of like major incident. And it's all about nuclear safety. Or any sort of anything to do with radiation. It's not just nuclear. It's all anything that's radiological. And they have reports going back to like the 90s of accidents that have occurred, and they're like investigation reports and so reports. There's like 3 on there of people like these big irradiation chambers where they like irradiate like food and stuff to like sterilize it, kill bacteria. There are examples of people who they know this is an irradiation, they know it produces deadly radiation, but it gets a bit jammed. And about properly checking if everything's like, cause there's like a safety mode, you can drop everything down to make it safe to go inside.
Yeah.
To unjam it. But properly checking, they just walk straight in there and get themselves irradiated.
Yeah, because you don't think, do you? You don't think.
Well, the thing is, these all have like interlocks. They've loads of safeties in place, but they've been bypassed.
But that's what I'm saying. It only takes. It doesn't take a lot for you to go. This is a bit inconvenient, and then you wedge a thing somewhere you probably shouldn't, or I can save a bit of time by doing it this way instead. And when you do that, you don't last long.
Yeah.
Really fear the old man in a job where you're supposed to die young, or where it's possible to die young.
There's a adage which I know pilots like to say, but I think lots of industries say it as well. They say there are old pilots and there are bold pilots, but there are no old, bold pilots.
Yeah, that's it.
But I'm sure that can apply to lots of industries as well. Not
that's basically the same thing I was saying. Yeah. If you fuck about, you don't get to be an old man.
Yeah, exactly.
Because again, we're using this machinery to do things we know we can't do it without it, and we are insignificant to the machine in the grand scheme.
And unlike an animal might hurt you, then realize what it's done and back off.
Machine can't do that.
Machine doesn't know. Machine won't know. It'll just carry on its job.
Yep.
Whatever it is, it'll just keep carrying on until it runs out of power. Whether that's an engine running out full or someone switching the power off. It'll just keep going.
Yep.
It don't care.
Yep.
So but people, the other sort of trouble of it is that there are lots of people who will do something that's dangerous and they'll get away with it. And they'll get away with it their entire life. And they'll retire, have got away with it all lives. And there may be 20 people who are all doing the same dangerous thing who'll get away with it. But it's that one person who doesn't get away with it.
Yeah.
And those other people go, well, we don't need health and safety. Look, we're still here. We survived. Yeah, but one of you did die.
Yeah.
That's not a great survival rate.
Luck doesn't.
Yeah.
Luck isn't something you can really quantify. You can't go, I still got loads of that left. Keep going.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I won't find this time. Yeah, don't mean that'll happen next time. If there's any level of luck in it, don't fuck about.
No, absolutely right. Absolutely right. So stay safe out there, kids.
Yeah. Don't do what we do.
And when people to bore you of health and safety gone mad, it's there for a fucking reason.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's just
mate.
It's not whatever time saving thing you can do. Ask yourself, is it worth me missing a leg?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, or any limb.
I will throw out there. I know people who have died because some other fucker decided they were going to have a laugh.
Yeah.
And decided to cut a corner.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
That's, in my view, so much worse is when you die because somebody else couldn't be bothered to do something.
Yeah.
And that's why I wouldn't like working in a big factory or something. Is you can tag stuff out, you do what you like, but you can't be sure some chucklehead's going to come along and go, why is that tagged out and switched off? I'll just cut that tag off it and repower it up. And before you realise it, you're dead.
Yeah.
Because somebody else has decided to be an idiot.
Yep.
At least when you work with like a couple of other people or mostly by yourself, everything you do is you're fully in control of your own safety.
Yeah. It's your responsibility.
Yeah.
You are not relying on someone else to do their job.
Yeah. And that's actually why I wouldn't like working in any sort of like big industrial site, because I'm relying on somebody else. I could do everything right and still get killed because somebody else is being an idiot.
Mm-hmm. Oh, mate, I've seen people get hurt there too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's. I mean, I've known people to get injured because of other people's stupidity, and I say if you do something stupid and you're the one who gets injured, well, you ain't got yourself to blame.
Yeah.
But if you do something stupid and kill somebody else, ask, can you live with it?
Yeah.
If you find out because you decide to ignore the sign that says do not switch this back on, and you switched it back on because it was inconvenient to you and someone dies, can you live with that?
Don't skip checks either. They're there for a reason.
Yeah. Lots of things are there for a reason.
Don't cut corners. Just because you make it out, don't mean someone else will.
No. On the flip side to that, the other side of the coin is the people making the checklists and deciding these things should be people who know the industry themselves and have worked in it.
Agreed. Agreed.
I've had situations. I work in warehousing and so forth. We had something sent down that said, when you put pallets in your racking, your pallets should be flush with the front of the racking. No, that is completely incorrect. Your pallet should overhang the racking by about an inch.
Mm-hmm.
That is so when you go with your forklift, you're not at risk of striking. When you pick a pallet up, you're not at risk of pushing it a little bit. Sometimes when you go in, you obviously nudge the pallet a bit.
Yep.
If it's all the way flush, it could fall through.
Mm-hmm.
Or you could nudge it back a bit, and as you lift up, catch the backing above it.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That's a no. And that is a perfect case, as the person who wrote that had obviously never used a forklift.
Mm-hmm.
And they thought that sounded like a logical thing. I noticed within about 3 months it changed back to a bit overhanging like it should be.
Yeah, sure.
And that's what, and you're trained that if you walk in anywhere that has industrial racking, any big shop, if you look up and look past, they should all be slightly overhanging.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they're designed, the racking is designed to be used that way.
And let's be fair, it doesn't take a lot for a forklift to wreck one of those racks.
Oh no, those racks, all their strength is in compression.
And they hold a lot of weight. So you cause something to buckle, that whole lot's coming down.
Yeah. Well, those standard, what I call galvanized steel racks, they're about 2.7 meters wide. A shelf can hold about 3 ton.
Mm-hmm.
And normally you don't see more than, say, 4 shelves because the pallets get too small at that point. So you're probably looking, they're holding about 4 tons. They can hold that weight, but only in a downwards direction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All it takes, in fact, you could walk up to one of those with a sledgehammer.
Yep.
And smash one of those legs. If you deflect that leg in by even a few centimeters, that compromises the entire structure.
Yeah, the whole thing's fucked. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, it compromises the entire structure. If you do it like anywhere like close to a foot, it's coming down.
I was working in a cold store, mate, and we were working with tons of frozen food.
Yeah.
Right? Stacked, frankly, higher than it probably should have been. Right? Or it feels like it.
Yeah.
It was within regulation, but, whatever. And a dude accidentally clips one of those shelves with his forklift, and tons of shit, the bottom buckled.
Yeah.
And you just watch the whole thing go down it came.
Yeah.
And
what?
Thankfully, the dude, the forklift had the whole thing over the top. Right? If someone had done that on a pallet truck, like a motorized pallet truck, and hit that thing, they'd have been fucking done, son.
Yeah. Well, luckily, those... So, two things that add to that. One, those racks have a habit, because they all joint together. When one goes, it tends to take everything else out.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah.
Like a deck of cards. And also, in the case of forklifts, the roller cages, those roller cages are specifically, I got told this, are specifically designed to they calculate, they can take the force. So obviously a forklift has a maximum height and a maximum lifting capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Those roller cages are designed to handle something at its maximum lifting capacity falling from its maximum height.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Straight down on top of it, and it will not go. However, at that point, it has to be replaced.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
Like a motorcycle helmet. Once you've had a crash, it's replaced.
Oh, like a seatbelt, yeah.
Yeah, it's done its job, and now needs to replace.
Once it's had a good smack, it's compromised.
Yeah.
Or at least it's something you don't risk.
No. And we've had a forklift written off at work because somebody Axay nudged racking and dropped a pallet of pallets on top of the forklift, and that buckled this roll cage, and that wrote the forklift off because they couldn't get a replacement roll cage for because it was so old.
Yeah, sure.
But they do. But when you see that, you go, that will actually keep you safe.
Yeah. Just think about it.
But
Just think, shit, I could have just died then.
yeah,
Over something as simple as maybe just lightly tapping a rack.
yeah,
Because the forklift ain't going to stop. That's just going to keep going.
No.
Same with the pallet truck.
yeah,
Motorized pallet truck. That's just going to hit it, go. You're going to keep going.
yeah. And you've got to bear in mind, a forklift weighs and even a small forklift. A small forklift with a lift capacity of say 1.8 ton weighs over 3 ton because they are counterbalanced. They rely on a counterbalanced weight to counter whatever they're lifting, so they don't fall over, which is a good thing. You don't want to fall over. So at 3 ton, even at a low speed, and when I do train with people and explain about forklift safety, I say any fight between you and a forklift, even at 2 miles an hour, if it hits you, it's going to win.
Oh, yeah, God, yeah.
Yeah. It's the same way around it. You will lose. If you get shot with this, you are going to get
The
injured.
soft, meaty thing. The light, soft, meaty thing. Versus the machine.
Yeah.
You never win.
But people because they're quite as a size, they're quite small. If you say something that weighs more than twice your car, some people don't believe it because the car's like twice as big. Even a small car's twice as big in the footprint as a forklift.
Mate, you see someone whip round the back end of a fucking forklift, you learn to get the fuck out of the way first.
Yeah.
Like you can almost see the fucking weight by the way that it moves. You can almost feel it. You don't have to fucking, you don't have to be a physics major to understand that you're going to get fucked up.
Yeah.
If that thing hits you.
Yeah. Well,
but again, because people don't die every day with them, you don't think about it. You think, oh, that's safe.
No.
That's safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're watching my back. They're doing their job.
Oh, yeah. Again, and whenever it comes to machinery, farm machinery, any sort of machinery, actually, always assume they can't see you.
Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, on any piece of machinery, your field of view is more restricted than someone who's not in it.
Of course. God, yeah.
So, yeah. I never ever approach a piece of machinery until you've got their attention first.
Yeah.
So, whether it's especially a forklift, you shouldn't approach a forklift anyway. But like someone in a tractor, I would never approach a tractor unless I've literally locked eyes with the operator and sort of like.
Yeah, until you get acknowledgement, stay the fuck away.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, again, they're so tall and things. One of the most common causes of death on farms is by combine harvester.
Mm-hmm.
But not the way you think. They have on the back of these combine harvesters, they have what they call straw shredders.
Yeah.
Or like spinners, something similar on the back, which basically chops straw and so forth. A very common accident is somebody's going down and watching all the combine do its work. As you do, you watch, see how it's combine, make sure it's okay. And obviously, occasionally the combine will go and it'll hit a bit, and the driver will just automatically go into reverse a couple of feet, and off they go again, and so forth. A common accident, someone's watching it, decides to walk around the back of it while it's moving, and as they're staying on the back of it, the driver just goes into reverse, and reverses the shredder straight into you.
Yeah, game over,
and
man.
That driver won't know.
Well, no, of course they won't know, because the fucking thing weighs a metric ass ton. You're just this squishy thing that's just caught up.
Yeah, they might not even know until they've come back round again, and someone else sees it happen.
Yeah, yeah, sure, of course, yeah. I've
heard, like these are stories that have been told to me. I don't know how true they are because obviously, sometimes I think people obviously will exaggerate things and so forth. But I've been told of situations where someone's literally that's happened to them like beginning of the day, and so when they got to the end of the day, going, "Where's so and so?"
Oh, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me because that'd be like running them over in a tank.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is a combine going to do to notify you that you've hit a squishy human being?
Nothing.
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 But But people don't
No.
think, because
People
as
don't
as I say, like, everyone assumes that everything is safe. They don't assume that they're in any kind of danger, even though they know it's a big whirring machine that isn't going to stop. If you can stand there and it can keep going with you standing in front of it, you're fucking done. All right?
Yeah.
Don't even prat about with it.
No.
Forklifts, pallet trucks, cars, whatever. If that thing can roll freely, just pretend it rolls freely, and it ain't going to stop if you're standing in front of it, get the fuck out of the way. Stay away from it.
Yep. Never approach anything unless you know the driver knows you're there. Never get between two things that are moving. Never try and start something when you're unless you're well out of clearance of it. Just there are so many ways that you can. I mean, one near miss that I did have wasn't with a piece of home machine. It was with a Land Rover, and you remember my old Defender, don't you? My blue one. That had no working handbrake. The handbrake didn't work. So what I used to do was I used to park it in gear, and that's fine. That will hold it. It won't go anywhere. In fact, a lot of I know, and you'll find that if you deal with a lot of country people, they tend to park all their vehicles in gear because it won't go anywhere. And we had it parked in gear. We're trying to get it back. The lights were playing up, so we're trying to get the light working. And I said to somebody, "Oh, just turn the electrics on." Well, he turned the electrics on, but then he kept going and turned the starter on, which of course turned the engine over, which turned the gearbox, and it was in gear. And this thing just jumps back.
Forward.
Well, we were behind it. It jumped back.
Oh shit! Yeah, sure.
We had a warp twist, and it jumped back. And and luckily, as soon as it moved, he let go of the starter, and it switched, and it hadn't started properly. But we were like, "Well, what are you doing?" We said, "Just put the electrics on." And I was like, "Oh, sorry, I thought you wanted it started." Like, oh, but that realistically, that I put it down to my fault because I hadn't told him it was in gear. Because I just did it all the time, parked it in gear.
Yeah, don't make assumptions.
Perfect example, complacency. I've always parked it in gear. I know it's in gear, so I wouldn't start it. And my habit is I get in the vehicle, take it out of gear before I start it.
Yeah.
Which is a habit I then get into every
But
other
if other
vehicle.
people assume that it's in neutral, they don't, like for me, I would always check before I've always got my if on a motorcycle, I've always got my hand on the clutch. Always feathering that clutch, always on the clutch.
If ever you are, you probably wouldn't notice. If ever you see me get in a car, again, the first thing I do before I start it is I actually get my hand, I knock the gear stick in
wiggle
side,
it. Yeah.
Just to make sure it's not in gear. And that's a habit coming out of people parking vehicles in gear.
Yeah. But it's something you should check anyway.
It is something you should check anyway, yes. I put myself to blame for that because he didn't know, and he's someone from the experience of a vehicle that they always put the handbrake on rather than he's well the handbrakes work. And so he wouldn't even think that the vehicle's not in gear because it's not his experience, it isn't in gear. So you have to just assume everybody's an idiot. And at that point, I was very positive. Whenever I start a vehicle or anything like that, I always stand clear of anyone's near around a vehicle. They say, "Oh, just start it for a second." I say, "Are you clear?" And I'll get them to say, "Yes, I'm clear," before I do anything.
Yeah. Well, just imagine if that jumped back and you were by a wall.
Well, we were between the wall and the vehicle, so we could have all been crushed. There's about 3 of us behind.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You'd have been like your boar in the trailer.
Yeah. Well, that potentially could have killed all 3 of us.
Yeah.
So, but it's actually amazing if you actually look for your life, how many near misses you've had, all through just a little bit of silliness. Just a little bit of like not thinking about something, not planning something, and so forth. It's scary, really.
Joys of routine and comfort.
Complacency kills.
Yep.
Is one of the things that's rammed into. Complacency is what gets you killed, and it's probably, I would say, as a root cause of people getting killed, it's probably the biggest one.
Yep.
It's a little variable gets changed that you don't think about, and that's what gets you.
That's all it takes.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes.
By the way, that's a good way to deal with people as well. Just imagine there are too many variables, And don't assume that everyone's going to agree with everything you have to say.
Yes. I thought you were going to say, just imagine the variables and just think which one can you nudge to get him killed. That's what I thought you were going with.
No, I mean, because that's one thing I say to people. Like, if you've got an island with 50 people and you want them all to agree on, say, these 10 things, like, they can't come onto the island unless they all agree on these 10 things. That's great until you add in, like, so, oh, no, it's peace in this little community. Then you add on the 11th variable. Then the whole group falls apart.
Yep.
That's all it takes.
Yep.
All it fucking takes.
Yep. Infighting and...
Yep. Just one. It just takes one extra thing that because what is reasonable to you may be unreasonable to me, and that's why people fight all the time. You can't agree on everything, which is why don't ever try to categorize people based on stupid things.
Yeah.
Just don't do it.
And at the same time, it's a case of and usually the things people disagree about are the most stupidest,
They can be,
minor, ridiculous things. Like, I don't know. Oh, we're producing some brochures. What colour should the front cover be? I think it should be red. I think it should be blue. It's going to be so stupid like that.
Yeah. Like I said, it doesn't take a lot. It just takes that one extra variable.
Yeah.
You think you're all on the same page until you're not.
Yeah.
And that's when shit goes south fast.
Yeah. It amazes me, and it's rampant in, and that's when you realise that flat leadership structures don't work.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever any organisation, we'll have all be equal for flat leadership, that doesn't work.
No.
When if it's two or three of you, you're fine. When you get more than like sort of 6-7 people, it basically becomes unrunnable at that stage.
Shit gets messy fast.
At that point, you need somebody who's in charge.
Yep.
Or has the final say, and that you all and you have to agree that you will agree with whatever they say.
Yep.
Or that you accept what they say is probably a better thing to say. Where if you disagree, but you'll accept it, and that's what you have to do. And so many organizations, businesses, committees, clubs fail that hurdle.
Yep.
So,
but to assume that everyone will agree by default based on some silly arbitrary thing is also another thing that people need to avoid, like the plague.
Yeah. Well, it's all the time.
Because they ain't going to.
No. Because if everybody agree, there's no point having a committee, for example.
Yeah.
Because what's the point? If everybody's going to agree, you might as well just have personal decisions.
I dislike it when people say, well, as a member of XYZ community, it's like, don't talk shit. No community agrees on absolutely everything. You are not the voice of a whole group. No. Get in the bin. You can't do it. No. You just can't do it.
No. Go back, do a survey of your community, and tell me what percentage of the community agrees with you. And then we'll talk.
Yeah, for sure.
Then we'll talk.
Who gave you this role?
Yeah. So, yeah, when they have representatives and stuff, it's a double-edged sword. You need someone there to represent people. At the same time, you need somebody who you actually think represents the whole community's general opinions.
Yes. But then as soon as an offer's put on the table, that's another place where things can go wrong.
Yeah.
As soon as something changes or something new comes in, a discussion's fine. They've already planned for that. But then what happens when you get to the end? Who makes the agreement? You give the representative it. They go back and they're like, "What the fuck are you doing, man? That's not. I didn't want that." So, well, that's all they've offered. Yeah, but I didn't want that. Tough.
Yeah.
Good times.
Well, that's all these strikes and stuff happens. They'll go to talks. They'll come back with a proposed idea, and they vote on it.
Yep.
And several times it doesn't work. So the reps came up with what they thought was a good compromise, or they came up with compromise they knew I spent a lot of time. They know it's not going to get voted through. They come up with something that doesn't get accepted.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's why things take so long to get done.
Yes, anything involving committees or stuff takes time because everybody has an opinion on it, and it's the hardest thing in the world because you want to both you want to make sure people get heard and get their opinion put across, but at the same time, you can't ask every single person to get their opinion across because you will never get anything done.
Sure.
It's such a... And whatever you do, nothing will make anything happy. No one will ever be happy.
You can't please everyone.
Yeah.
You can't. You just can't.
I know it's a quote from the game, but I do like it. It's from Deus Ex. It says, if you want to make enemies, try to change something.
Oh, yeah, God, yeah.
And that is so spot on.
Yep.
So spot on.
Don't fuck with people's comfort.
Yeah. No dramas that I've dealt with at work from having a simple idea, suggesting it, and most people going, yeah, it's fine, to then you get one group of people like, that's a terrible idea, and it goes to full-on civil war. It is incredible. It's like, this is something so pathetically simple. But the trouble is, you're so castrated too, because you feel it'd be a lot better idea, and you want to say to them, come on, this is stupid that we're arguing over this, but then I'm arguing over it as well.
Well, but that's the thing, though, because, again, something that you value at here, someone else might value here, and so you're like, oh, this is minor, this is trivial, but to them that could be the be-all, end-all.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when you talk about features in technology, something that someone might think is mind-blowing, you're going like, not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But because again, you can't please everyone. You just can't. You cannot. There are too many variables, and our little stats meters are all set differently. We might all look the same. Like, if you cloned me 10 times, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't agree with myself, because they're all unique individual personalities at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They will all assign different variables. But
yeah. You could go out there tomorrow and you could get a group of people, and you give all of them, if you got 1 million people and you gave all of them £1,000, some of them would have strong opinions why you shouldn't give £1,000, or they would think those people there shouldn't get the money, should get less money than us, and we should get more of it. And that would just cause cars, right? It's just as much as we whinge about government and so forth, they are really, if you're government, you are basically joining society where nothing will change. You can't do anything about it.
It's messy.
Everybody will hate you. Whatever decision you make, a large group of people are going to hate you.
Humans are messy.
Yes.
No two ways about it. We all like to think we're civilized, but woo.
Yeah. Shall we go on some happier stuff? Because it's 11:30. I think you need to be done by quarter, don't you?
Yes, mate. Let's go. What have you been playing, Ram?
I have been playing a game, a little puzzle game, strategy game. Well, I'd say puzzle game called Morphblade. And when I say little, it's 5 megs.
In this day and age?
I was shocked when I went to download it. It says this will require 11 megabytes. You have available like 459 gigabytes. I think that'll fit.
I don't know, mate. It's pushing it.
And of course, Steam always lies when you first install it. Steam says this game will require this many megabytes. It never requires as many as it says it needs.
So what you're saying is it's actually probably a couple of K on your drive.
Probably. But it's a really simplistic little... It had like sort of good reviews and stuff. I thought, okay, so I'll give this game. It's a little simple, really simple little sort of strategy / puzzle game. And you get given a hex grid, and these grids are also made up of tiles. I think there's about 30, 40 tiles. And these tiles will have one of 6 different items on them, like and these can be weapons. So you have like a hammer weapon that will smash anything that's around. If you're on the hammer tile, you will smash whatever's next to you. You have like blades. Blades will, when you move, they won't attack anything directly in front of the direction whichever hex you move into. They won't attack what's in front of you, but they'll attack to both sides. There is a arrow which will fire. You can move 2 hexes in a turn, straight line, and will take out anything in the way. There is an acid tile. The acid tile will dissolve armor of any enemies. If the enemy moves through it, the armor gets dissolved by the acid tile. There is a health tile, which restores your health. And what have I got? I've got hammer, arrow, sword, acid, health. There's a teleport tile. If you're on that tile, you can then move to any other tile. But here's the thing: your character has the weapon of whatever tile they're standing on. So when you move tiles, you change weapon.
Oh.
So you can't just go, oh, I'll move to. So when you move to the health tile, you don't have the weapon anymore. And if there's an enemy who's basically it's a turn-based game. So you start off, there's just two tiles on all covered. You're on one, there's an enemy on the other, and it always starts with you on a hammer tile, and the enemy's on another type of tile. And you can click on the enemy, and in your turn, you click on the enemy, you'll just run your little character or cursor, whatever it is, just smashes forward, kills the enemy, and then just resets to its tile, and then you can move. Now, as long as you keep moving on already uncovered tiles, no more enemies spawn. You can keep moving as much as they won't spawn. However, every time you kill an enemy and you kill a wave of enemies, because they're in waves, a number of other tiles will be grayed out. They'll appear on the grid, and you can basically pick which tile to go onto. And when you do, that tile that gets uncovered becomes part of your grid, but that starts the next wave. So you can do things like once you've got a biggish grid uncovered, you can I'm a bit hurt. I'll go to the health tile thing before I uncover a new tile, and so forth. And you can't uncover any tile you want. You are limited. There's you always usually get 4 to 6 options of which tiles to uncover, but you might be surrounded by 20 tiles possible, but only 4 to 6 will be allowed that you can go to. And what tile type they'll be is randomized.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you'll get a blank tile, which you can pick what tile type it's going to be. And these randomized tiles are if you say there's you have an option of 3 grey tiles and you pick one, the next time those remaining 2 grey tiles come up, there'll be something different. They change until you've locked it in. They change every wave. So as you're on the grid, as in each wave, you'll start off with just sort of basic enemies you can just sort of smash. You'll get enemies who have got armor who you have to you can defeat them by knocking them off the grid. So if you're if there's no tile for them to go into, you'll knock them off the grid and they're gone. Or you get them to go over something that's got acid that will dissolve the armor, and then you can attack them as normal. You've got enemies that are fast. You can move 2 spaces at once. You've got enemies who got a laser, which can fire in a straight line down any hex path.
Mm.
So, and it's got infinite range. So you don't want to be on path of that. So when you've got an enemy when you've got enemy counters on the board, every time you move, all the counters get to move 1 space, and it's all have this. Some can move double, but they get to move. So you move, they move. You move, they move. And so, back to my example, if you end up on a health tile, if there's an enemy right next to the health tile, you're kind of stuck, because if you move off the health tile, you're going to get hit regardless, because you're going to be adjacent to the enemy, unless you can go backwards from it. They're going to be following you. And the health tile's got no attack, so you have to move off. So that makes it a bit interesting. You have to be a little bit sort of planning where you're going to go. Now, every time you kill an enemy with a tile, so of course each tile changes your weapon. If you then use that weapon, what tile you're on, to kill an enemy, as it were, that tile basically gets a upgrade point, which is shown by a little quadrant, 6 of the tile quadrant getting lit up. Once you've done 6 enemies with that tile, you can upgrade the tile. So you have your basic type of tile, hammer, teleport, or whatever. You can then add an extra feature, up to 6 extra features to it, and they are one of the other types. So, for example, a health tile, if you add as an upgrade another health point, that will give you a shield now when you stand on it, and you can go off elsewhere. You can add a tile that does a tile that's like the hammer tile. If you add the slashing one that attacks tiles next to each other, that means if you kill enemies from this tile, you also kill enemies adjacent to you as well. So you've got this little simple upgrade mechanic, the tiles, and that you can upgrade all your tiles, basically give them more features, they get more powerful, and you can upgrade them again. And every 6 enemies it kills, they get more of it. So you can, if you're very consistent, you can get a tile fairly high upgraded. But because you can only do it when you're on that tile and attacking from that tile, you have to try and lure enemies towards it.
Sure, I get you.
And it's a really simple concept, but really neat. And it's so simple. And it's addictively fun. It's like it's very much I'll just do another round.
Yeah, see, that sometimes that's the best way, though, isn't it? There are barely any mechanics for you to have to worry about.
No,
and so you just kind of sit there.
Enough.
Yeah, it's just enough there to scratch that itch, enough to make you go, well, it's really simple. You're not really paying attention to time. There's not really a lot to give you much of a you know, like when you play a bigger game, you're going, oh, look here, the scenario's changing, the scenery's changing, this is changing, that's changing, new characters, cutscenes, music, blah, blah, blah. In this kind of case, it sounds so simple, you wouldn't even notice time just fly by.
Exactly. But you'll get things like, it's a bit like Skazz, in that the rules are very simple, but there's a really deep strategy involved in this. This is the same. The rules of the game are really simple, but you will have situations like, right, I need to make sure I go to this tile first, because if I don't go to this tile first, these enemies will move here, and so they'll catch me up, and I'll need to make sure I kill them, and so forth. You do have to plan what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've got no acid unlocked on the map, and you've got an enemy who's got armor, you've got to lure that enemy to the edge of the board so you can push them off the board. Otherwise, you are not getting rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
Then they'll just be fine. They'll have to race. So you have to plan your moves, and because it's enemies have got a simplistic AI. Generally, they'll try and move towards you, but there's two of you. They'll try and flank you. The enemy with the laser will try and keep its distance from you.
Ah, okay. So there's a soft AI to it, like a pattern-based AI, kind of like what they used to do with Pac-Man.
Yeah, it's probably even simplistic than Pac-Man. It's probably a very set of simple rules. You know, if enemy here, pick a tile that gets them in line of sight, but is as far away as possible. Mm-hmm. Choice of two, pick the first one.
Well, that's how Pac-Man used to work. So each ghost would have a specific rule that it would follow, and if you knew what that rule was, you could manipulate the ghost into moving in a specific way. Yeah,
to the point where actually there's a dead spot on Pac-Man where if you go to the ghost will never attack you. It's like bottom right-hand corner, I think, somewhere in the bottom right corner. Yeah, it's a blindness in the AI.
Yeah, because realistically, so for example, like say one of the ghosts will turn and run if you charge at it. Yeah. So if you charge at it and there's a way for it to move out of the way, it will move out of the way. It's just a simple thing in it. Otherwise, if you're running, it will just chase you and catch you. But if you run at it, it will move out of the way if it can.
Yeah. I mean, the AI is fairly predictable. That's got some rules. What you don't control, though, you don't control. You have no idea the AI. So the AI can spawn on any tile. They seem to always spawn at the edges of the map rather than in the center. In fact, I can't quite ever see them spawn in the center, but I'm not going to go on paper and say they don't. But they always seem to spawn on the edge tiles. But what happens is they'll spawn, and you'll get a little icon showing them there, and they're not actually spawned this turn. We're going to spawn next turn, so you get one little move warning of where they're going to be. One thing you can do, which is kind of neat, if you see an enemy's going to spawn and you go onto that tile, they won't spawn whilst you're on that tile. They can't until you move off it. Huh. So if you've got two enemies nearby and they're going to spawn like right next to you, you can go, well, I should move onto that tile. The other one will spawn. I can take him out, and then I can move away and deal with the other one.
You can block them.
Yeah. Yes. And later on, as more and more ways happen, you'll be dealing with this. You're just dealing with an enemy on the board. Then very soon you'll get two enemies at once. And you'll start getting like waves of two enemies at once. So once you kill those two, another two will spawn and so forth. Later on, you start getting three enemies at once, and that gets very tricky. Because what enemies spawn is also obviously randomized. If you get I had one where I had two laser enemies, and that was like, okay, this is really awkward because they're smart enough that they won't block each other, like their line of sight. So they will try and actually cross off two lanes. That's actually very difficult. They can control a lot of the board very quickly. Mm-hmm. And you only have 2 hit points. You have 2 hit points, but if you go on a health tile, you get all your hit points back. But if you've got two enemies next to you, you're gone because they go for an attack each.
Sure.
So you're gone. So it is. there's another enemy type which I really despise. It's an enemy type who's explosive. And if you destroy it, you won't get hurt, but whatever tile that enemy was on when you kill it is destroyed, including all its upgrades. And the tile, you can immediately go back onto that tile and unlock it again, but you've lost all the upgrades. But if you get him to the edge of the board and knock him off the board, you're fine. So you want to try and get him to the edge of a board edge so you can knock him off, so you won't have to worry about having to deal with a situation of, oh shit, they are going to destroy one of my tiles. Particularly if they get on your nice high level tiles, it's quite frustrating. It's very annoying when that happens. Most I've only managed to get up to wave 20, which I'd say feels about. I think there's about 30. I'm not actually counted, but I'm gonna guess it's about 30 tiles. So it's probably about 30 waves. I don't know if the game actually ends when you get all the tiles or not. I'm assuming it does. Or if it just was that point, it just keeps going until you die. But I'm sort of like, I'm getting to wave 20 now fairly consistently. Occasionally I'll do something stupid and die on wave 6.
Sure.
But I'm going to finish it. The game has no real instructions. There are structures that will sort of tell you roughly. They don't really explain brilliantly clearly what it does. And there are some tips. The tips are basically all just there for comedy effect. But so all the rules I sort of worked out myself. But that's fine because the rules are simple. You work them out fairly quickly.
Sure.
But yeah, I have to say it's a really neat game, and it's a real shame because I had looked, and it's not on it's not an iOS store. It's only on, from what I can tell, it's only on Steam. Which is because this would be an ideal mobile game. It'd be absolutely ideal for it. But it's not on there, which is weird. But no, it's a really neat little game. I think it's dirt cheap on Steam. Let me have a look it up quickly on Steam. I think it's dirt cheap, and it's tight. It'd be an ideal Steam Deck game because it's a game you can literally pick up and play for 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's $3.99.
That's not bad.
That's fine. That's more than fine. Nice, simple. It's nice, simple interface. It looks nice and clear. You can tell at a glance what's going on. Yeah, it's really neat little game. I say it's an ideal game to just have in your pocket and then just pull out and just play for like 10 minutes and so forth. Really, really neat. And you own it apparently.
Oh, do I?
Yeah, one friend already owns this game. There's your little icon there, so you own it.
Surprise.
Yeah, that's not so. But yeah, it's really neat. But yeah, so I really recommend it. It's a great little fun pick up and play game. Cool. Anything from you, Skazz?
So just quickly, because I've got to bail in like literally 5 minutes, but
yes.
So previous podcasts I mentioned River City Girls and the Kunio-kun franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And just recently, over the last couple of days, I decided I would take a dip into the Double Dragon series, which is also part of Kunio-kun. It's made by the same team, which is one of the earliest side-scrolling beat-em-up games. And so I fired up Double Dragon Trilogy on Steam. It's a package of 3 Double Dragon arcade games. Double Dragon 1, Double Dragon 2, The Revenge, Double Dragon 3, The Rosetta Stone, or whatever it's called. And you play as Billy and Jimmy Lee, and you just walk and kick the shit out of people. Most people would know the Double Dragon series from the NES games, which I've played, but I've never been any good at them because the controls are feckin' terrible. I think the controls are terrible because you've got, punch, kick, and jump is both buttons together. And you need, nice. There are some levels where you really need to jump. The arcade game isn't so bad because you have multiple buttons, but It's from the early days of arcades where things don't always seem to come out as you would expect them to. Okay, so, jump and kick you would expect to be your fly kick, but sometimes it'll trigger a special. Sometimes you think you're punching an enemy that they're in range, but all of a sudden they'll be slightly out of line because it's an 8-way movement system. They'll be slightly out of line. Your punches will completely miss, or they'll develop an iframe out of nowhere, and they will hit you, and you will lose health. It has an arcade and a story mode. You don't have a way to coin up, though. Which is weird for an arcade package, or at least I haven't found a way to to coin up, because it doesn't tell you how. There's no instructions or anything. It just says, "Do you want to start a game? Yeah. Do you want to pick a game? Which one? Play the game? Go."
Nice.
So it doesn't tell you what any of the buttons are or what any of the buttons do. There's probably like a tip on a loading screen that like flashes up briefly, but they are fun, but you can tell. They're early. They're early in the days of this kind of games that were like Final Fight, Streets of Rage, that kind of thing. They lack polish, as I say. You can get your ass beat in no time flat, and because you can't coin up, and they are in a way arcade cheap in a way to make you put more money in them. It only takes like one guy to beat the ever-loving soddery out of you, and you lose all of your lives and all your continues, and you're like, what the fuck happened? But once you learn how the AI works, you can cheese it quite easily. As a package, you can buy them pretty cheap on Steam. So a couple bucks. You can play them desktop mode. So like 2 people on one machine. So 2 people on a keyboard. I haven't been able to get the 2 people on a control pad to work. Or you can play over the internet. Now, we played the online through the Steam kind of local play thing. And that worked all right. But, oh my god. When those games desync, they desync hard. Netcode is not great. And as I say, when games are that cheap, you can get stun locked in no time flat. You can lose all your continues. There's only 5 levels-ish per game as well. You could be, oh yeah, mate, look, I've got all my health, and then you can go from 3 lives to nothing in one guy. If you're playing with multiplayer as well, you have to wait for the other player to catch up. So you could just find yourself trapped on some moving object, like, I don't know, a combine harvester on one of the levels.
All right.
If the other player doesn't
stand behind it.
Yeah, if other players don't move fast enough, you get hit by it and you die.
Oh.
So because it will move, like say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it moves and it comes back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you move ahead and the other player doesn't keep up, you hit the edge of the screen and then you get hit.
I was gonna say, is it like the screen sort of like locks off and
yes, you are locked as far as the furthest away player. So if one player's on the left side of the screen and you're on the right side of the screen, the person on the right side of the screen can't go any further forwards. The width of the screen is the width of the screen. It doesn't grow or shrink based on how close or how far away the players are. So it can get really tight. And there are actually borders on the side of the screen that you can't cross.
Nice.
So there's like an actual, so you think you've got maybe a little bit, like a sprite's worth of screen there. You can't touch it on either side. So you can find yourself being caught in a corner you didn't realize was there. Because they are so short though, they are very quick. But they can be quite fun, albeit frustrating. It's amazing to see how far we've come in that genre. I think, honestly, the console versions are better because they're not quarter munchery. They're not designed to be as cheap. But if it was between Double Dragon, which is just a straight-up side-scrolling fighter, and Kunio-kun, which is a side-scrolling fighting game and an RPG, I'd say go with Kunio-kun. It's a better series, albeit less popular for some reason than Double Dragon.
Probably the name.
Probably. Well, in fairness, it was River
Do you
City.
want to play Kunyakin or Double Dragon?
No, it was River City Ransom in the States, or Renegade. But still,
Yeah.
Double Dragon sounds cooler, I guess, with better graphics, and a lot of people would judge a game on a box. But that's what I've been playing. I've not done a very good job of them. The package is okay. Obviously it's an arcade board wrapped in an emulator. The interface is frankly, it's terrible, but it's sufficient. There aren't many special options in it. It's just start game, multiplayer, leaderboards, and you can change the music from like an 8-bit original to like a remixed version or whatever, but frankly, I don't care. For a couple bucks, it's worth it to play some, historic side-scrolling fighting games, which, frankly, you need to play because they've got Double Dragon 4 on Steam and Double Dragon Neon, which I plan to go through next. But that's me.
Fantastic. Right then, I'll quickly wrap this up so you can get going.
Sorry, mate.
No, you're right. I'm just conscious of it, but I'm just thinking about you because I'm worried about your timing.
Bless you.
Very much enjoy, everybody. You can join us for our games night, which is on Wednesday this week, which is the 1st of March. It is. This will be at roughly 8:30. You can join me on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/theSuffolkRam.
And twitch.tv/Skazzius, SK4ZZI0US. By the way, I'm trying to convince Saber to get back into live streaming. Working to find out a way that I can beat him over the head and guilt him into doing it.
That'd be grand. You can join us on our next podcast. Our podcast is on the 11th of March, the 11th of March. Good news, Skazz, and another couple of podcasts go, and the hour goes on, so it'll be a bit lighter in the evenings.
Woohoo!
We love that time of year. So until then, thank you for watching. I'm the Suffolk Ram.
Skazzius.
And we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Cool. Take it easy, guys.